Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the High Pop Professor. And today I'd like to give a recap of the Philly show and let you know how my experience went, how the day was. And it honestly was really amazing. I had a bunch of goals I wanted to accomplish, and I pretty much accomplished everything I wanted to do. In fact, it was in a lot of ways way better than I expected it to be. Partially helped by having low expectations, but we'll get into that. So yeah, I want to start this video just sort of front facing with the camera here, and we'll cut to a couple of pictures that I took during the show. There was actually quite a decent representation of awesome 90s stuff all throughout the show, way more than I would have expected or anticipated. So that made it really fun for me, especially. But basically what I want to do is we'll turn the camera around later in this episode to showcase, but basically I had one gigantic mega deal that happened, and it was kind of a three-way deal between two dealers at adjacent tables, and so we'll get to that. But I kind of just want to walk through my experiences. So when I got there I was there Saturday, and I spent basically the entire day there. I got there about 15 minutes after they opened, and I stayed right up till about 10 minutes before they closed. And then I went to the YouTuber meetup that was afterward, just at the hotel lobby there, right nearby. And that was a blast too. So when I got in there, I had a couple of goals. You know, I wanted to get a couple of Pokemon sealed things for my daughter, her birthday, and for Christmas coming up in a few months. I, of course, wanted to enjoy myself, walk around. I had a couple of PSA orders, wanted to drop off. And of course, I wanted to check out, see what cool 90s things there were, maybe sell a few things. We'll see. I also had a goal. My brother, Iconic Al, wanted me to keep an eye out for a 1914 Cracker Jack Max Carry in about a PSA 1.5 or a 2, or an SGC 1.5 or 2, somewhere in that range, as he hadn't been able to locate one the last two nationals that he had attended. So kind of a long shot. And so I walked in there, and within about the first 10 minutes, I had tracked down the Cracker Jack 1914. There it was. There were quite a few. I mean, there was the variety that was at this show was phenomenal. Can I just say that there were vintage dealers, there were pre-war dealers, like plenty of them. Lots of a lot of ultra modern football. There was a ton of ultra modern football, which I mean makes sense. We just started the football season, so you have that, and way more 90s than I expected there to be. So all of this stuff was just super exciting. So yeah, within about 10 minutes, I tracked one down. Unfortunately, it was not in the 1.5 to 2 range. It was just an authentic. And the reason why it was authentic was because it was missing the entire front and bottom left corner. So it was only 90% of the card. So it was in a PSA authentic slab. And unfortunately, it was not, 90% of the price. Anyway, it wasn't the copy that Iconic Al was looking for. So, but still, it was cool to find it, and it was cool that it was just in that room. It's kind of a pretty old card from a really important, famous set, and it was really cool to see one and hold one in the flesh. So that was kind of a cool thing. The other thing that struck me, not too long after I walked in, like I said, this was like 10-15 minutes within walking in. It was right there. It was, the first bank of tables, well, not the very first, but within 10 minutes, like I said, I found this thing. The other thing that struck me about this show was there were just table after table after table with these big tents over them that just said buying all over the place. There were so many tables just advertising, just buying, and there were always people at those booths. Some of them had lines or crowds around them, It was amazing. And so I assume they're repackers. I assume they're, getting inventory. But perhaps this does have something to do with PSA now making offers on cards. And perhaps there's a little bit of a bottleneck when it comes to inventory. If all the cards being sent into the PSA ecosystem are being sold either directly through eBay or being sent right from eBay PSA right to eBay, and they don't get out there in the environment, maybe that's causing a shortage. I don't know. or maybe a bunch of these repack products are getting going and they need inventory. For whatever reason, I mean, we've seen prices in the last 6 months sort of hike upward, and the demand showed no sign of slowing. So, and you know, lots and lots of Pokemon there too, by the way, speaking of no demand slowing. But it wasn't overrun by Pokemon. It was a strong representation, but I didn't feel like we were drowning in TCG, right? There was plenty for everybody, really. It was quite impressive. So yeah, I just want to kind of go over and well, let's go ahead and turn the camera around, because the first card I picked up was actually very soon after that. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll talk about the pickups that I got and the other experiences that I had. All right, so as I continued walking through the show, I made my way toward the back of the main ballroom there, and I saw a beautiful case of all these 90s refractors, and it was gorgeous. There was a bunch of refractors there, Maddox refractors, all sorts of players from the 90s. Now, I did have the Maddox refractors I saw there. There was 2 of them that I already had. But then I saw there was one more that caught my eye, and it was this beautiful 98 Donruss Collections prized collections, and it was the Leaf version, modeled after that beautiful, iconic 90 Leaf card. And you can see here it says Collections right here, if it's going to focus on me, maybe. There we go. It says Collections up the side, and it's sort of etched into the card with a beautiful refractor finish on this. And, you know, I was looking for the prized collections. I was slowly making my way toward the run of these prized collections cards because they're just so beautiful. There's 2 of the Donruss ones that I have, both of those. Those are the easy ones to find. There's 560 of those print run made. The Leaf, there's only 1. This is the one with 400 made. I didn't have this card, and it was kind of on my list, and there it was, just sitting there. And what more, this card, I mean, usually these are very poorly centered, and this is actually one of the best centered copies I've ever seen. Is it perfect? No, but it's really good. I mean, really, really good for this set. So I got really excited about it, and you know, I looked it over and said, well, you know, now there was one thing I noticed: the plastic coating on the back is starting to come off on the top, and so that's not part of the case. That's part of the actual card itself is peeling, and this card does not have a peel on it, so it's not one of those protective coatings. It's not supposed to do that. So I asked him what he didn't have any prices on it. I just asked what would he want for it, and he said $10. And I said, you know what, that's fantastic. I will take it in a heartbeat. There's one on eBay for about $35 or $40. Buy it now. I didn't really want to pay that for it. It's probably like a $20, $25 card if it were an auction. But considering that I'm going to put this probably in a top loader binder, and it looks magnificent from the front, I'm going to call that good. That's great. This is fantastic. It will go toward that run. But I was just super happy to see some 90s representation already. And again, this is just probably less than an hour in, and I was already picking up some cards that I was looking for. And now next, though, what happened after this pickup? I made my way around and kind of snaked back toward the front. I kind of went toward the back and then snaked my way up and down until I got to the front. And that's when I reached the table where I made the gigantic deal. And this was kind of crazy how this deal happened. But basically what happened was I encountered a table that had not 1, but 2 incredible cards side by side. And so these 2 cards were the card, one of the cards I had been specifically targeting, the 98 SP Authentic Chirography Autograph of Tony Gwynn. And then right next to it, it was right above it in the same showcase, was a card that I had thought about that intrigued me and interested me. And so while I had not been targeting it, I felt like I couldn't ignore it either. And it's the 98 Donruss Signature, Significant Signatures on-card autograph of Sandy Koufax. Wow. And so there they were. And they had their price tags on them, you know, $275 for the Gwynn and $500 on the Koufax. And now what's interesting about this is I had considered possibly, and I had the idea here, I was going to take this Tony Gwynn that I had because I had the 2000 Finest Moments Refractor Auto on card, pack pulled auto. I had it on me in a box. I was gonna submit this to PSA to do dual grading. And I figured, both this card I have and the one I'm looking at there, the Geography, are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 250. And I toyed with the idea of just saying, look, we could just do like a straight up trade, 1-for-1. I'm looking for that one. This one's also cool. And I floated the idea to the dealer there, and the dealer said, unfortunately, that those two cards did not actually belong to him, but a buddy of his, and he wasn't there right then. So that couldn't happen. But the guy next to him said, well, hold on, let me see what cards you have, because of course I let him know I had a bunch of 90s stuff, and he seemed very interested in what I brought. So he said, okay, well, here's what we can do. He says, maybe you sell me some of your cards, take the cash to buy those, and it becomes sort of a three-way cash sale, partial trade deal thing. So I said, okay. So he pulled out the cards that he wanted, and here they are. So this, let's go through these cards real quick. The first one here, we had the Bonds 98 Donruss Signature Millennium Marks autograph. This was an SGC 9 Auto 10. And I think there was a PSA 8 Auto 10 that had just sold pretty recently for about $850. I think that's probably pretty close to the value of this card. The SGC, there is no PSA 9 Auto 10. And I looked at this card pretty carefully. I do not think it would cross to a PSA 9. I do not. There is a little bit of an issue with the bottom edge. It wasn't too obvious. The corners were not, there was touches of whites there on the corners too. I don't think it would be a PSA 9. So I included this one. There's an A-Rod 97 Millennium Marks, PSA 8 Auto 9, that I value. I think the value of that one's probably about $120. The Clemens 84 Fleer Update Rookie and a PSA 8, valued at about $200. There's a Piazza 93 Donruss Rated Rookie Auto that tough to value. I had 200 written on that, but that's a little high. It's probably closer to like 120 to 150. I had a Sosa 95 Diamond King Auto. That's a sticker auto that I valued at 70. A Frank Thomas 92 Rookie Sensations PSA 8 that I value at $50. And the McGuire 98 Donruss Signature Proofs PSA 9 Pop 2-0 higher that I just got in my last grading order that I value. I had 75 on it, but honestly, it's probably, I don't know. I think conservatively $50 would be a fair price, but yeah, it could be more. Who knows? So the total value of these cards, added up to, in my estimation, about $1,490, and I sold them for $1,250 cash, which is about 84% of sort of full value. And honestly, considering what I would pay eBay fees, I would pay, I'm not a top-rated seller or anything like that, and you're already down to, 87% or 86%, plus not having to have the hassle of waiting or shipping or risking something weird in the mail or, whatever, something getting damaged or lost or stolen or whatever. That just seemed like a fair deal. And, I wasn't too keen to get rid of the Bonds, but here's the thing. I sold those for $1,250, but I was only into the Bonds for $350. That's what I bought it for. And like the A-Rod, I was only into that for $50. And I was only into a lot of these cards I was not into for very much. So considering that I had purchased all those cards, I was only into them all for a combined, I think it was $745. So I made a profit of over $500 on this sale. So I just kind of used the market being on an uprise here, and I had picked up some value on all these cards, and I just kind of cashed them in a little bit, so it's kind of a fortuitous timing. And what I did is I took that money and we looked at the Koufax and we looked at the Gwyn, and he had 500 stickered on the Koufax there. And what he did was he looked up the last auction sale, which I think is a fair way to do that, and it finished right at 400. So we put a value of sort of 400 on the Koufax. The Gwyn, now that one, a little trickier. I think that typically does finish around 240, 250. He had 275 on it. But there is a little bit of an issue just with it was not all that well centered, and some of the edges were a little rough. And so I just said, you know what? Would you take 600 for both, the Koufax and the Gwyn? And he said yes. So that was the deal that we made. And so let's take a look at what these cards look like. Oh my goodness gracious. This is the Tony Gwyn autograph of my dreams. This is the perfect Tony Gwyn autograph card. Certified, pack pulled, bold autograph. I mean, everything about this card. I love the look of this card that looks like it has those 4 photograph scrapbook corners in there. A clean white design. You have this awesome sort of faux fountain pen calligraphy making this chirography logo on the top. You have this beautiful foil board portrait of Tony Gwyn. I mean, that's just, it's epic. It's an epic, clean card with a bold, beautiful blue auto. Oh, man. Oh, 4 razor sharp corners. I mean, this card is just magnificent. Just magnificent. I think it probably would grade, like I said, there's a little bit of, chipping on the edge there, top edge, fine. And I'm okay with a rough cut, always have been. I'm a corners guy, admittedly. And, the centering is sort of, depending on how you look at it, it's right at that 60-40. It's a little bit worse, I think, than 60-40. So it wouldn't grade out at a 9. It's probably a PSA 8 if I wanted to do it. But I really care about the corners. I care about the overall look of the card. And I care about that beautiful auto. And look at that beautiful, beautiful Tony Gwyn auto. That is just marvelous. So my plans as of right now are to get this in a Mag Pro and get that in my Tony Gwyn collection. And that is my forever keeper Tony Gwyn auto for my collection. It's not the only one I have, but it's one that's not going anywhere. That one's sort of being locked away into the Disney vault of my collection, as it were. And then here's this beautiful. Now, not every significant signatures card, by the way, has a refractor, and I'm a sucker for 90s shine. So if we can combine, the left arm of God on a beautiful 90s refractor shine, I mean, yes, we're doing that. Now, interesting things about this card. So Sandy Koufax, on all of the ones I've seen, none of those autos would grade out a 10. They're all somewhat streaky, and so this is of no exception. Now, that being said, it's still a pretty strong specimen of an autograph. Look at that beauty. But what also sort of struck me is after I looked at this card, the condition of the actual card for having these dark black borders they're just phenomenal. They're incredible. And so I think after looking at this thing, I'm going to have to submit this for grading. And it's after 97, which means I don't have to get it dual graded. I wouldn't grade the autograph anyway. I would just get the condition of the card itself graded, because I think that this is probably a 9, which would add significant value as it does to 90s cards in general. And it may even have an outside shot at a 10. Who knows? And so I'm just stoked, just super pumped. This was not a card that was really, it had intrigued me. It had interested, I just didn't really have it on my radar. Didn't expect to see it there, especially not side by side in a showcase next to this Gwyn chirography. But here we are, this massive deal where, he's pulling out stacks of hundreds and they're flying my way. And I'm just sort of wheeling and dealing these cards. And man, I just couldn't be happier with how this turned out. And I also now have a big cash weapon to sort of save up towards another grail. And so who knows when that's going to happen, but I have some ideas. But this was by far the biggest deal I could have ever even conceived of partaking in. And that's part of the reason why, even though I love those cards that I was selling, a lot of them are either duplicates. Like here's my other Rookie Sensations, Frank Thomas. And the other really cool part about this, I have to mention it. The dealer himself, I could see he was super excited to get that Frank Thomas Rookie Sensation. He was super excited to get the Sosa DK Auto. And also the Barry Bonds. Those were cards that he told me that those were going in his PC, and he wasn't even going to get those to sell them, which also just sparked joy in me because I knew that he identified that these were special cards, and they meant something to him. And so that just made me happy, knowing that they were going somewhere, not just to be, flipped over again and resold, which, whatever, it's his prerogative, it's his card, he can do what he wants. But it made me happy knowing that he truly understood and appreciated those cards, and they were going to go to a collection where they would be loved and cherished, and that just made me so happy. So as I was snaking my way back through the rest of the show, there was a really great value box that had some awesome 90s stuff. And so I got this really cool 93 Select Jeter rookie. Really nice, dark green borders and corners, and really a sharp card. Great condition. I have one of these that's really beat up from when I was a kid. Anyway, but there's a really great presenting copy. I got this really cool Season Crowns, really crazy etched foil insert from Ultra, 97 Ultra. Season Crowns, just incredible. Big Hurt, just an amazing card. And so I still have the prices are still on them. I didn't pay those prices. I'll tell you what I paid a little bit here. A really awesome Ionics, Upper Deck Ionics Hyper insert. Has a beautiful sort of refractor shine on there. The Bowman's Best mirror image from 98 with Maddox on one side. Really cool die cut. And Kerry Wood on the reverse. Of course, the refractor is out of 100 and goes for a ton of money. And the Atomics out of 25. And that one I can't even sniff at. And then here's a really cool one. Rising Stars. This is a gold medallion insert. Really nice. Also, some beautiful etched foil. And the etched foil and the color, the green color on here, kind of reminds me of the Emotion Intense. And in fact, this was just 1 year after that. This was 96, I believe. Well, unless it was 95. Let me think about this. What was this? It was 95. Well, it says 95 on the back. I just can't remember if it was released then. And yeah, I think it was 95 actually. Yeah. I guess if you look really closely, it says it on the logo there. Is that 95 Fleer Ultra? I think it is. In any case, so yeah, these all added up to, I believe it was $31. I asked if he'd take 20 for them, and he said, yep. So I did. I got all those 5 for 20 bucks. Really great. Let's go ahead and spread those out. Actually, let's go ahead and join this one there. Here, let's get over here. We can see the shine a little bit better. There we go. There we are. This one's not going to get too obscured by shine. It's a little bit of a... Here, we can move that a little bit more. That's worse. Hold on. We'll figure out how to do this lighting. Maybe. All right, so that's better. Oh, that's fine. All right, so that sort of finished my first pass through the main room. Now, I hadn't even looked at the second ballroom because, it was about lunchtime, and I had been kind of dreading going over to the PSA line because I had heard that it was about a 45-minute wait to get into the PSA line. But I went ahead and did that, and I went and got a sandwich got a wrap at the little concession stand and stood in line for a while. And what happened was I got not one but 2 taps on the shoulder. So someone said, Brian, and one of them was a viewer of my channel, and so he handed me a card and said, hey, this is for you. And I believe it was, now I'm not 100% on this because I don't really remember. I believe this was low grade, no grade vintage, who hands me this card, and I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it for a couple reasons. And he hands me a card, he gives me a gift. He said, Brian, this card is for you. And look at this card he gave me. This is a beautiful Sean Casey Donner's Crusade green. Look at that shine. Look at this card. Unbelievable. And now, you might also notice up in the corner, this is a rather rare condition tier for a PSA card. This is a PSA 2 good condition. So interesting. So what's going on? And of course, now you might see this over here, but this is just the Newton's rings. That's not the defect on the card. No, no, no. But this is a PSA 2 98 Donruss Crusade, numbered out of course, 250. And this is maybe the nicest looking PSA 2 you're ever going to see. So what's the deal? Why? I actually saw this card on eBay a little while back, and it was a curiosity, and it caught my attention. Now I'm going to move this back up so see a little bit. And I'm really curious if we can actually see what this is. But it turns out that these are the kind of cards that if you try to open these kind of products, the Donruss or Leaf, or in this case it was Leaf Rookies and Stars is what this one came out of, because the cards have the gloss on them, they kind of brick and they stick together, and you kind of have to bend them a little bit back and forth to maybe get them to unstick. Well, I think someone was a little bit exuberant with how they bent the cards, because if we take a look really carefully, there are creases right down the very center of this card. And you can see it right in the middle here. These are crease lines where this card was literally bent in half. Right in the center. But unless you get the light right on that, you can't really tell. And because the card surface is going down then up again, it creates these little Newton's rings over on the side, which is fascinating. But it presents so beautifully. And so this is a card that I'm probably going to take to school and display proudly on my desk. And it's funny, I have kids come up and say, is that a PSA 2? It's like, yep. That's right. But yeah, kind of an amazing card. Not a ton of value, but I love Sean Casey. I love shiny cards. It looks amazing. And I will display that. It's funny. I almost always cover up my grades, but I might leave that one. That one's just funny. And it's a conversation starter to see that kind of a number on a card that looks this cool. So anyway, so just fantastic, amazing, generous gift. And so I was still in line. I got another tap on the shoulder, and it was Bill, the Hall of Fame collector. And so he was in line. He was there to do his very first ever PSA submission, and he brought with him a T206 Christy Mathewson to drop off and get graded. It was in some other obscure off-brand slab, and I guess he had that, I guess, at the National or something, and people wouldn't even look at it because it was in this weird, I don't know if it was like GMA or something, I don't know, some slab that you'd never really heard of before. Fine. And so he cracked it out that morning of the Philly show and went to stand in line to make his first ever PSA submission. So anyway, went ahead, dropped off my 3 cards for autograph authentication. There were 3 Diamond King autos. And I also dropped off that Tony Gwynn for dual grading as well. And then, we kind of just, we shot the breeze for a while. Bill and I, we kind of discussed things. We sat down. He actually had a few gifts for me, which is also kind of amazing too. Wasn't expecting that. But I'm gonna have to zoom out just a skosh here to show. But he brought me a couple 97 Zenith 8x10 Dufex, and so I do already have this one. But then he also gave me one of Tony Gwynn. And so, you know what? I'm going to have to, there we go. There we can see the whole thing now. But yes, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on the background like I oftentimes do. I'll stand this up next to my Maddox. I have another Griffey that's over there too. And so, yeah, we're doing the whole gigantic Dufex etched foiled. Oh, man, the shine is just unbelievable on these. And so, yeah, he had these and it's just like, you know what? These are for you. And so, incredibly generous. I just couldn't believe it. And so, it's really, really cool. I've always loved those. And they don't have like a ton of value or anything. But man, they are just beautiful. I love them. And he knows me so well. I don't know. Okay. And then while I was there, one of the things we were talking about was, how the hobby has changed and how, even on the rare stuff in the 90s, prices have just gone completely berserk over the last, really since the pandemic. And then I told him that there was a seller really close to where we were that had some of these absolutely crazy wax packs just for sale, loose packs, like in their original boxes. Like they had 99 Flair Showcase packs just sitting there. They had 2000 EX packs just sitting there. They had Bowman's Best from 99. They had, I mean, all these, kind of high-end 90s and 2000 era packs. Couldn't believe it, for 10 bucks, 15 bucks. And so I went ahead and we had a pack battle, and we each bought one of these EX from 2000, 3 cards each for $10. Said, you know what, we're gonna go hunting. We're gonna go hunting for essential credentials or whatever. And so we videoed this. I'm gonna attach on the end of this video the pack battle. You can watch that. And so I don't want to spoil what we got there, but I'll let you watch that. But I should say who won. You know what? No, I'm not going to say who won. You just watch it. That'll be great. Okay. So we got that. After that, I walked around. I got some additional Pokemon sealed boxes. I made one more sale after that. I sold my Maddox 2005 Finest X-Fractor. And, in the Cubs uniform, I wasn't really sure what this would sell for. It was only a Pop 3. Honestly, I just wanted $100 out of it. And so I found a dealer who was very happy to pay me that. And it was so funny. I saw that and then listed just the day after on eBay for $300 by it now. So we'll see. I suspect it's going to sit up there for a very, very long time at that price. But hey, that's fine. Go for it. He's welcome to be patient and sit there. And then, of course, after I went to the YouTuber meetup. And that was just a super fun time. A lot of great guys that were there. I'm probably going to miss someone, but basically, I from what I can remember, we had Jake from Wax Pack Wisdom. We had Coach Neil was there. We had Mike's Mr. October was there. Keith from the Lonely Basement was there. Doggate, my card collector, was there. Then I spent most of the time, after people had left, I spent most of the time shooting the breeze with 2 other guys here. And so RJ Collect Sets, of course, was giving out these really cool Steve Carlton cards. And so that was a really cool thing. He's a big-time Phillies collector, big-time set collector, and he spans the whole gamut of vintage pre-war Phillies, oddball Phillies sets from the 70s, 80s, modern, ultra modern. It doesn't really matter. He's a Phillies super collector, set builder, and super enthusiastic, very outgoing, fun to talk with, and had a really good conversation with him. And also the vintage composer had some amazing Robin Yount pickups, and so he was showing off some amazing Robin Yount autographs he was able to obtain, and they were gorgeous. They were beautiful cards. And so it was really fun having a conversation, especially with those 2 guys. But really, it was just an awesome, really great event. And honestly, the whole day just went so wonderfully. Every single one of my missions was accomplished. I had fun, walked around, saw awesome hobby people, got to talk with people, had a fun time shooting the breeze with dealers. There was way more 90s there than I even thought there could be. I mean, take a look at all this stuff. Unbelievable. I had no idea that this card that I had been mildly targeting would be there. This card that I was majorly targeting, no idea that was going to be in the room. This one was a complete surprise and gigantic pickup, biggest one of the day. I got my PSA orders dropped off and didn't have to spend extra money on shipping them out there because I could just drop it off. And heck, they even waived my $5 handling fee for my autograph authentication because it was an in-person drop-off. So even better. So it was cheaper even than I thought. And then, I picked up my Pokemon stuff I was meant to do for my daughter. And, it was just a very long day. And I was super tired after that. But it was awesome. It was so fun. I had a blast. And honestly, it left such a good taste in my mouth. I can't wait to get back for December. And I hope if and when they do another one of these get-togethers, YouTuber meetups, I want to see people there. I want to go back again and be able to shoot the breeze with people, share pickups, give out some cards. I was giving away some Maddox cards there. I said in my preview video, I had some inserts to give away, and I was giving them away. So anyway, just sharing the hobby love. It was a fun time, great show, excellent diversity that was there of all kinds of, whatever you're into, you were going to find something that you love to see. So thank you for watching. Highly recommend the Philly show if you can make it out in December. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and hopefully I'll see you at the next Philly show in December. Hi, my name is Brian. I'm the High Pop Professor. I'm here with Bill, the Hall of Fame collector.
The Hall of Fame collector.
Right here. And so we're at the Philly show, and we just found this random booth that was set up that had all of this unopened wax of late 90s baseball, but they were selling them like by the pack. So we're going to do a pack battle of 2000 EX. We just got one of these each. There's only 3 cards per pack. And so we're going to go ahead and see who wins the pack battle. So wish us luck, but here we go. Alrighty.
What am I going to get?
I don't know.
Chuck Knobloch, Kenny Lofton,
Andy Pettit.
Andy Pettit.
Definitely.
I don't even know what's big in this set.
I don't know. Probably something that starts with Essential
I feel like I need a pair of scissors.
and ends with a Credential.
And you're going to run out of battery before I
Oh wait,
actually...
no. These have a pull tab on the top.
I got it.
Oh, you got it anyway.
There's something shiny in here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, they're all shiny.
Oh, they're all, yeah. There's only 3 cards in there. Boy, look at these.
All right.
Ooh, who'd you get?
They're slightly...
Oh, okay.
This one
okay.
is peeling in half.
Oh boy, oh no. Okay.
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa. Okay.
Jeremy Burnitz.
Oh, okay. And
Jose
Canseco as a Devil Ray. All right, here, you take this.
There we go.
Yeah, I see the little groove there. Okay,
Yeah.
these are peeling in half.
Yeah, it could be a PSA 2.
All right, yep, we know what those look like. And
I think Sosa might be the best one.
Yeah, we'll see if I can beat Sosa.
Can you beat 600 and
yeah, however many home runs? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Ooh, okay. Oh, these are so shiny. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I got a Scott Rowland.
That
might Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you might have won already.
All right. Oh, we got Carlos Delgado.
Oh, 493 home runs, I think.
Oh, they are stuck. They're bricked a little bit.
Yeah, he's cool.
Oh boy. Oh, Tony Gwynn.
Oh, you won. It's over.
Okay.
It's over.
We could take Tony Gwynn and Scott Rowland if I can ever get Rowland unstuck. Woo!
Yep, we got a winner.
All right, there we go. We got Delgado, Tony Gwynn, Scott Rowland. 2 Hall of Famers out of 3, and 1 very close could have been.
He was just out of 500 home run club.
Yeah. All right.
Not even close.
Woo!
I wasn't even close.
Okay. Well, that was fun.
It was definitely fun. Definitely fun.
Fantastic.
All right, well, thanks y'all for watching. Take care.